What makes an American hero? There are many answers to that question, but here's one you probably didn't know. In the final year of World War I, American troops were fighting German soldiers on the Western Front. In May of 1918, America's only all-black regiment, the Harlem Rattlers, were warned of an impending German raid. The Rattlers held their ground, with one soldier, Henry Johnson, wounded, ambushed, and outnumbered by 24 enemy troops. And as he fought on, he allegedly shouted, "I'm an American, and I never retreat." That motto not only captured the spirit of the 369th, but also the unit's fight for equal rights and recognition from their white counterparts on the front line, here and at home. This was a story almost lost to time until recently when Johnson was awarded the Medal of Honor, and history caught on with the Hellfighters. I had a chance to speak with New York University professor Jeffrey T. Sammons, who documented their heroics in the new book, Harlem Rattlers and the Great War. And I asked him how these group of warriors appeared on his radar.
I had seen William Miles's Men of Bronze, which is a documentary, a 1977 documentary on the so-called Harlem Hellfighters, or the 369th Regiment. So they were on my radar from way back as a graduate student. And then the opportunity presented itself for me to actually take up this book project.
Given the fact that this was a time when the Army was still very heavily segregated and there was a lot of, this was still Jim Crow America. So why was it so important to properly brand this group to make sure that people were able to remember them or have them stick in their minds?
Yes, well, first of all, blacks were not supposed to be combat soldiers. And in fact, this unit, when it first went over, was assigned to stevedore duties, to labor battalion work, etc. And the French are the ones who put the pressure on General Pershing and the War Department to turn these men over to them, because the French had been in the war since 1914 and desperately needed reinforcements. And eventually Pershing relented, and the unit spent 1 month in training with the French before going to the front, and served 191 days on the front, which was the longest of any American unit.
Now, I do want to focus on, of course, the story of Henry Johnson, because his bravery was really just unbelievable, fighting off all these German soldiers essentially by himself. Tell me a little bit about what we learned about who he was and what kind of a character that he had.
He was a survivor, incredible survivor, both during the war and then after. But he took on this German raiding party, along with Needham Roberts, who was incapacitated very early in the fray. And Henry fought off the Germans with his rifle, with the bayonet, with the butt of his rifle when he was out of ammunition, and then eventually with a bolo knife. And he was so ferocious that he actually ran the surviving Germans off. They wanted to capture Henry and Needham for intelligence reasons and also for morale purposes, to hurt the morale of the unit. Remember, the 369th never had a man captured and never lost a foot of ground that it had taken in the war. So that was an important achievement and accomplishment for Henry. And of course, he was recognized by the French with the Croix de Guerre with Palm, the French Cross of War, with the highest level, and that is at the level of the Army. And he did not receive an American honor until 1996 in the Clinton administration, and that was the Purple Heart. And then in 2003, he received a Distinguished Service Cross during the Bush II administration. And many people believe that that was a cynical effort to actually take the wind out of the sails of the Medal of Honor campaign, which had been going on since the 1980s. And there were constant rejections of Henry being honored with the Medal of Honor, which is the nation's highest military honor. So Henry was a tremendous symbol of pride to all Americans, and especially African Americans. We have to remember that this event took place in May of 1918, And U.S. soldiers, white soldiers, had really done nothing in terms of combat in World War I at that point in time. So he was the first real American infantry combat hero of the war.
Given that so much prestige goes along with the Medal of Honor, do we know what became of it in terms of his family, or what happened after that?
Well, there was never any proof established that Henry Johnson had a surviving family. So that Medal of Honor went to the New York National Guard, and I was fortunate enough to attend the ceremony in the East Wing of the White House.
Okay. All right. Well, this is such an important piece of American history, so I want to thank you so much for bringing it back to the forefront, and hopefully more people, when we look back on the quote-unquote real American heroes, will also remember Henry Johnson from World War I.
Thank you for doing it.
Absolutely. Thank you.